And welcome now, it's Flight Deck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where if you use the promo code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head over to royalretros.com, use the code, save 10%, and don't forget, Cliff, by going to Royal Retros, you do not need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X and on Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
And as always, I am Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky at Cliffy D.
All right, sir. Week later than what we expected, but we're still on track. Still on track. Season 10, still on track.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as they say, timing is everything. And sometimes best laid plans don't always materialize. And, it is what it is. We roll with it. We make it happen. But we are still producing content. We are still talking to people. We're still wanting to provide everything Alouettes for you, the listeners/viewers. I'm always excited to be able to sit and talk football. And hey, let's keep this party going, shall we?
Yes, sir. And there really wasn't that much Al's news to talk about, but we still wanted to bring you a show anyways. And we felt what better way to do so than bringing in one of the newest signees by the Alouettes when it came to free agency, right, Cliff?
Absolutely. The Alouettes didn't make a whole lot of moves when it came to free agency, unless you count the shoring up of players before free agency hit. But as far as adding new members to the team, the Alouettes didn't go too crazy when it came to that. However, the moves they did make were definitely significant, and we are very excited this evening to have one of those signees join us this evening. Make sure you stay tuned because we will be talking with our new defensive lineman, Joshua Archibald. A great chat, and I think you folks are going to be very excited to hear about this Montreal native doing a bit of a homecoming, if you will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As I said, not that much to talk about when it comes to news for the Alouettes, but I think before we talk about, I think probably one of the things we wanted to touch on first, though, Cliff, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the our last episode where we happen to have another Alouette on here where he was where Najee Murray was the head coach. Named head coach, or I guess we had named head coach of the U9 flag football team that went down in Orlando. They won the championship, didn't they, Cliff?
Sure did. I mean, talk about podcast karma, right? I mean, anyone who comes onto the show, good things are going to happen. And Coach Najee Murray did indeed lead the U9 team to the championship, the world championship, as it were, in flag football. So absolutely outstanding. Can't say I'm surprised because we know how good Najee is on the field. He's an even better person off the field. There was no doubt in my mind that he was going to do everything he could to make sure that these youngins get the education they need, get the coaching they need, and look what happened. Absolutely incredible. So congratulations to these youngsters for winning a world championship. I mean, a world championship, Tim. That's nothing to sneeze at.
No,
and for Coach Najee to be leading the charge, absolutely outstanding. So our hats off to you as always, Najee. Keep up the good work, my man.
we're going to have to ask him, is he going to be getting another ring?
He should. I mean, is that not the thing? I mean, like I don't recall seeing a trophy or anything like that. I'm sure it must have been a trophy, but yeah, definitely. And guess what? He gets to take all that good momentum and bring it with him back to Montreal, back to St. Jerome when training camp gets underway. I mean, and next time we see him, we'll be able to say, hey, congratulations, coach.
Yeah, I think what people need to remember too, by the way, is that what they took part in, and we had some other Alouette flag football teams. They ended up being on the podium too, which is the U16 team finished in second, and so the U11 team also finished second. But this, Cliff, was over 925 teams with more than 9,500 athletes participating in the World Flag Football Championship.
Exactly. Just absolutely outstanding stuff. I mean, and also too, let's not forget, in 2028, flag football will be an Olympic sport. So, I mean, this is just perhaps a glimpse into the future of what's to come for flag football, not just in Canada, but worldwide as well. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to think automatically, well, the United States of America is going to win because that's where flag football basically originated. But tell you what, there's Canadian talent to be found everywhere in every aspect of football, whether it's CFL, NFL, NCAA, U Sports, and now we're seeing it even in something like flag football. I mean, that is just tremendous. Like I always say, you can't hide talent, and let's face it, Canada is definitely producing great football players in all aspects. So I mean, this to me, as far as I'm concerned, is just a sign of things to come. And come 2028, when the Olympics are happening and Canada is hopefully being represented by the very best that this country has to offer, I tell you what, that's going to be some really exciting stuff for everybody to watch.
For sure. I mean, and I'm just looking at it here. I mean, 7 teams. So the Alouettes Flag Football Academy, powered by Mavericks, kicked off. They kicked off with 7 teams participating in this 2025 Youth Flag Football Championship, which, as we said, was held in Orlando. But to be one of those top teams, coming out of the 925 total teams that were playing flag football across the world, I mean, it's crazy. But it's again, as you say, congratulations to Najee, congratulations to everybody on the team, man. And as I said, leading up to a potentially very interesting debut for flag football at the Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't help but be excited by this, and it just goes to show football is growing by leaps and bounds every single day. Even when you think that they can't find another level, somehow they manage to just do exactly that and keep going further and further. Just kind of like what we do with this podcast. We always want to push ourselves to the limit and see how far we can go and go even further. That's something I've always stressed numerous times. And that's really how you have to approach things in life. I mean, you just got to see how far you can go with things and go even further. And that's what these youngsters are doing as well. Absolutely love to see it. And like I said, the future couldn't possibly be brighter for Canadian football, regardless of where and how it's being played.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing too, before we were getting to the interview with Josh, we did have a couple of not very many, but a few transactions. I think one was just announced today before we started taping the show. But I think do you have the list up in front of you? I think it was only 2 of them that we had, but do you have them in front of you?
As a matter of fact, I do. And yes, it's these are names that are not going to jump off the page immediately for fans. So I mean, as soon as I mention these names, a lot of people are going to be like, "Who? Huh? What?" But the Alouettes are making moves, folks. Simply put, the Alouettes are doing everything they can to build the best roster possible, and this is just 2 more additions to the list that, again, could make a major impact in St. Jerome in, was it less than 2 months before training camp gets underway?
Exactly.
Man, it's wild to think about.
Yeah.
So the Montreal Alouettes did add Christian McFarland, a linebacker from Idaho State, to the roster, as well as you mentioned today, Quentin Meeks, DB from Stanford, who does have NFL experience and also played in the USFL, or sorry, I guess it's the UFL now. I said 2 gentlemen that, again, I'll be completely honest, didn't exactly jump off the radar for me, but at this point, I have all the faith and all the confidence in this scouting staff and this organization when it comes to finding talent, because every year for the past few years, there's always been 1 or 2 names that really jump off the page. And as soon as you see them in action at training camp and in the scrimmage games and preseason and so forth, these players come alive. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, where did this guy come from? Well, this is where they come from. Like, you don't know these guys from a hole in the wall, as I say, but given the opportunity and they have the chance to make some noise, they're going to take it. And you never know. These could be like 2 major impact players for this team, or they can just come in and be gone as quickly as they arrive. You just never know. But once again, this Alouettes team is doing everything they can to build the best roster possible, and we now have even more names to add to the list. And God willing, we'll see what they can do when training camp opens in St. Jerome. And we'll see if this is did we find our next major superstar here in Montreal?
Yeah, exactly.
Only time's going to tell.
Yeah, and also it's something that we'll be talking about in the last segment itself. Obviously, there's more coming up when it comes to the CFL. Obviously, the big news is the combine, but that's our last segment of the show. So, and again, as I said, wasn't much news when it came to the Alouettes. Um, when it came to player wise, I mean, yes, they announced their boutique sale, which is through the end of this week. So if you're listening to us, make sure you look at that. I will give them props, by the way, Cliff. They did a great ad campaign for it. Some unique stuff that I hadn't seen before. I went ahead and made sure that I gave them props to personally. I think they did a really good job announcing this thing. So props to them. And it's just getting everybody hyped. I said, you're saving money, you're getting Al's gear, and you're getting ready for camp in less than 2 months. There's the trifecta right there.
I mean, you could also purchase our merchandise too over at www.flightdeckgear.ca. But, their stuff is good too. So I guess so. I mean, listen, I'm not about to tell you people how to spend your money, but there's no need to purchase. I mean, oh, what's this? Why is this not a something that we could be selling very soon? I mean, folks, we are doing our 10th season, and we are celebrating that. So maybe head on over to flightdeckgear.ca and you can get yourself some sweet Alouettes flight deck merchandise. I mean, buy the Alouettes stuff too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, feel free to show us a little love as well. Was very much a shameless plug.
I know, but we're equal opportunity, though, right?
100%.
As we had talked about before, is that we had a hometown kid sign in free agency with the Alouettes. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to this gentleman, to hear about his career leading up to being signed by Danny Mac and the team itself. But it was very interesting to hear a little bit more about this guy and what he's wanting to do coming back home to Montreal. So without further ado, let's talk to and welcome into the flight deck Alouettes' newest free agent signing, Joshua Archibald.
Ladies and gentlemen, free agency is pretty much finished now for the 2025 season. Montreal Alouettes obviously made some moves, and we are very excited this evening to have one of the key members of free agency here joining us on the Alouettes flight deck. Very excited because not only is this guy a Montreal native, growing up here, also played his college football here in Montreal. We are very excited this evening to be joined by now number 97 for the Montreal Alouettes, Joshua Archibald. Josh, welcome to the Alouettes flight deck, and welcome back to Montreal.
Thank you both for inviting me. It's a blessing to obviously be a part of your podcast as well, and looking forward to give you guys some insight on myself and whatever else.
Absolutely. So let's get started. What was it truly simply the simple matter of coming home, so to speak, that led you to come and sign with the Alouettes in free agency after being drafted by and spending the first part of your career with the BC Lions?
Honestly, it was a lot tougher decision just because Montreal, yes, was home for me, but I also felt like BC kind of that's where I developed as a football player. And, I've also built a home out in BC, but when you're given the opportunity to play in front of, friends, family, and, play in the same stadium where you played in university, it's hard to pass that up, especially the point at which, my family is at right now. Just being there for my mom, my dad, my sister. I also have a dog here, family dog that, I take care of. Well, I try to take care of as much as I can, in Vancouver, but now it's kind of all hands on deck. And I do have a lot of responsibilities outside of football, and they're just could more easily be fulfilled being in Montreal. And I also spoke with Danny. He made me feel, right at home. I spoke with Coach Mass. I spoke with Coach Thorpe, and they're all great coaches, and they made me feel at home right away. So for me, it was it was a hard decision, but it was a decision that I am very comfortable with, and I don't think I'll live a life of regret when it came to that decision.
Well, they always say you can't go home again, but I think you're about to prove to everybody that yes, you can. So definitely
Yes.
excited to see you join the ranks. And let's talk about being a part of this defensive line. Now, again, Danny Machocha, from the day he started here in Montreal as general manager, he has said his goal is to make this defensive line one of the best in football. And despite winning a Grey Cup, he's still tinkering. He's still making changes, and adding you to that lineup is a big part of that as well. Where do you see yourself in this defensive line alongside of guys like Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, Lual Uglak, and so on?
I see myself kind of fitting right in with those guys. I think they are one of the best DNs that this league has to offer, in Lual and Isaac. And I also think the interior is something to be spoken about with Mustafa Johnson as well, dominating the interior. So I think when you add those group of guys, and everybody's good at something, they're not all they're not all one-dimensional. They're multi-dimensional, and I feel like with my skill set, with my speed and my strength, I feel like I could contribute to that line as well. And I even recently, spoke to Lual, and I know Isaac personally. So there's just a great group of guys to work with and learn from as well. So honestly, I'm more than excited to join the defensive line, and I think my skill set along with their talents can make for a pretty serious combo.
Not to mention, these are all national players as well. I mean, you talk about just how important it is, especially with the draft and the combine coming up. Like, just finding that talent, and give credit to Danny Machocha. Like, he knows how to draft and find in order to reach his goal of making this the best defensive line in football. Getting these national players such as yourself and the guys that we mentioned, like, it's incredible. Just to me, it's a case of the rich getting richer.
I'd have to agree, and there's a lot of guys that paved the way for national guys like me, like Matthew Betts, for example, which I played right behind in BC Lions. He did a great job at paving the way for guys like me, and obviously the guys before him and after him as well. So I think that the D-line group, especially in Montreal, with the depth that it has, and obviously the ends being Canadian, well, a lot of them, is definitely gonna help.
Where do you, well, obviously things can change, as everybody knows, once camp comes and camp finishes and the final rosters are actually named. But where do you see yourself? I mean, obviously we know you played some backup, obviously, in BC while you were there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously every player's want obviously would be to be a starter. I mean, obviously I would imagine from day one, you're going to be going into camp looking to be more than just a backup, I'm sure.
Yeah, honestly, I think it just comes down to the preparation. It's like, how well did you prepare in the off season? Just doing minor tweaks as well, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And at the end of the day, I'm here to work and here to fight for a spot. I'm not really here anticipating that I'm going to get granted, a spot, or granted second string, whether it be second string, first string, or third string. I'm just going to make sure that I work my ass off and let the preparation do the talking, really.
Also, too, I was just thinking, too, with you being a hometown boy and a hometown player, is that obviously where camp's going to be held. I don't know if I mean, it's going to be a quite a change if you think about it for camp, because BC's is held in Kamloops. It's like, what, 3 hours away or something like that?
2.5 hours.
Yeah, and you're going to be going just an hour away in St. Jerome.
I heard that. Yeah, St. Jerome. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, so I would imagine that from there, family will be able to come and watch you play and stuff like that, and get ready to be, to make the roster.
Definitely. I definitely going to have some family and friends coming out to watch me when they can. But really, as a football player, it doesn't really change much, even if it's 2.5 hours away, an hour away. I think I'm going to be staying there, right? I'm not going to be leaving the campus at all. I'm really going to be dialed in, focused while I'm there. So it's really, same, I guess you could say, same concept, same goal, just different location, right? So for me, it doesn't really change much other than, okay, now friends and family could come watch me practice and eventually play, come homecoming June 6th against Toronto. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, Obviously, being Canadian, being a hometown guy, you start at the McGill. You played for McGill University. But one thing I want to ask you before I talk about your McGill career is like, what got you into football, Josh? I mean, it was there
it's such a
anybody?
crazy story.
Yeah, anybody in particular that turned you on to it? Were you playing another sport prior to that? I mean, what got you into it?
And to this day, it's so hard to believe, but I started playing football at the age of 16, bordering 17.
Wow.
My mom really put me in essentially every other sport before that. I was playing basketball, I was playing soccer, I skied, I played hockey. I was kind of like this multiverse, athlete of a kid that I'm not gonna lie, I was a pretty chubby kid. I grew up pretty chubby. So I wasn't the fastest, I was never the strongest, but eventually as kind of puberty started kicking in and I started losing some fat and I really dialed in and focused on, the gym a little bit more and whatnot. Um I just started playing football and who I have to attribute to that? It's my coach at the time, Mike Morvich. So I went to Selwyn House School, which was a private school in Westmount, and Mike Morvich was the football coach at the time. And I just had a whole bunch of friends playing my last year high school. And Mike Morvich came up to me kind of in the locker rooms, just randomly like, hey, you should play football. Like, your friends are playing it. You're an athlete. You have the skill set. You should try it out. And, lo and behold, first game, I catch a ball for an 80-yard catch and run. So after that, it was kind of I was supposed to stop playing football actually. Right after that year, I was supposed to either go to Marianopolis or Dawson and continue my academic career over there. Obviously, they don't have football programs, but Mike Morvich got on the phone with Upper Canada College and just kept calling and saying, "Listen, we have this kid. I think you'll love him." Da 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 da. And in my mind, I'm already ready for Dawson and Marianopolis. Football's not even on my mind. I played it 1 year. Who says I can make it far, right? And then I ended up being the last acceptance in UCC. And from there, it just took off. First year was great. Second year, team captain. And then everything sort of kind of started falling into place randomly. And now people are telling me, hey, you can make it to, college football. You could play college football. And in my mind, that was a crazy thought to think. I was like, college football, those big guys, like, you think I could do that? And then lo and behold, the next year college football comes and, first year, second year, a little bit slow, but then it picks up. And then next thing you know, I'm an RSEQ all-star and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And the conversation of leveling up kept happening with every coach that I had in my life to the point where I was just sitting down and my coach, Ronald Hilaire, at one point says, you can make it, kid. And I'm like, make it to what? And he's like, the league. And I'm like, I'm being, the innocent, dumb, naive kind of kid is saying, oh no, stop it. But it's kind of like that weird situation where it kind of history repeats itself over and over. So for me, it was just, it's kind of a dream, living a dream kind of right now, because it's almost honestly like, how did this all really just start? But yeah, I'm here now and I'm loving it, honestly. So yeah, that's it.
Were you recruited by anybody else in U Sport, or was it just McGill?
No, it was Queens, Western, but Queens wanted me at receiver, and Western wanted me at the end because I played both at Upper Canada College, assuming maybe I'd have like a tight end role. But pretty much almost every school in Canada, but obviously no looks in the United States. It was just too fresh for them, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't on the radar then.
Yeah. That's cool. And it sounds like obviously you're having more fun, hitting people in the mouth than catching balls.
Yeah. It's funny. Ronald Hilaire, I had a meeting with Ronald and my mom. And I remember sitting in that office so vividly because he told me, he's like, listen, we are recruiting you as a D end, but at the end of the day, your skill set is good enough that we'll take you at whatever you want. So I told him, I said, listen, I like you said, I enjoy hitting QBs in the mouth. There's a special, type of dopamine that I received doing that that I don't receive catching a touchdown. So for me, it was just a no-brainer. I was like, you know what? Let's just dedicate this career to DN.
So it was actually sounds like, Cliff, that maybe Coach Moss might need to put in a special play for Josh on offense to get him into that end zone for a big guy touchdown.
I think that would work. I think it would be pretty hard catching me once I get running. I'm not gonna lie.
Look, at this point though, I'm just not going to walk by you with a football, Josh. If it's all good with you, I can't take any chances.
Oh, I swear I don't bite. I'm a good guy.
Tell us about your McGill career. I know, and Cliff mentioned this to me before, and I have to ask you about it. But I don't hear more about your McGill career. Obviously, first and foremost, you've played at McGill before over Purcell Molson, but technically on the opposite side of in the other locker room. What was it like for you coming back for the very first time as a BC line to play at Purcell Molson?
Those feelings that I felt, and I could only imagine how I feel actually wearing the Montreal jersey, but the feelings that I felt playing in front of my friends and family gave me an extra level of juice that I couldn't really describe in words. The only thing that could describe it is honestly the film, and the coaches know. You know, when I'm playing in Montreal, I'm really coming with a little bit of extra juice. So, and for me, that was just a natural feeling. It feels at home playing in that stadium, and it's something that I can't necessarily explain too well, other than you just got to be there to experience it. It's how could I put it into words to maybe make it more relatable for you guys? I'm not sure, but
yeah, I mean, you're doing a good job. I mean, how about this? Let me kind of turn it on its head a little bit. Obviously, you played at McGill for quite a few years. For you, coming back for the very first time at Purcell Molson, what was the one thing you're saying, oh, God, I got to deal with that again at Purcell Molson?
Honestly, yeah, a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. McGill was fun, but I think it's more so playing against Montreal that really made me feel a certain way. Less so that I was playing on the McGill field. Obviously, that's nice, and there's good memories on that field. I think it's playing for the team of which that I grew up watching when I was a kid. So playing and imagining that, because I would wake up and you can never, as a kid, you would never fathom that maybe one day you could become a Montreal Alouette. To you, it doesn't even cross most kids' minds, let alone teenagers, let alone young adolescents. So for me, it was wow. So I'm playing the team that represents my city. Let's play. Let's rock and roll. So I think that personally for me was more touching than maybe playing on the McGill field, which I love playing on the McGill field. Nothing against it, but it's definitely different playing against your city.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we found Cliff mentioned to me prior to us talking that your number is representing your birth year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean
97. I mean,
yeah, for me it was I got a list of options from the equipment manager. We were talking right early on. As soon as I signed, I went straight to him. I went straight to Dom and I said, listen, what numbers you got for me? And he sent me the whole list, and obviously 94 was taken, which I'm fine with. I'm not really a big numbers guy anyway, but I just looked at all the numbers and said, well, what can I relate to the most? And I saw 97 and I liked it. I like those big boy numbers because any time I think of a guy on the line as the 90s, I'm thinking, oh, okay, he's big, strong, he's a true D end. And I kind of want to play that mind games with the O lineman, right away. I don't want like a single digit or a 40 number because then he's probably going to start thinking, I'm a speed guy or I'm not a true D end. So I like wearing the 90s just to show that, I'm a trenches guy before a speeds guy.
Looking at coming home to Montreal, obviously there are many things that you're going to be looking forward to. Obviously, as I said, playing for your hometown team, trying to get the team back to the Grey Cup. When you finally signed on the dotted line, what's the first thing that came to mind, whether it be through your career, or whether it be coming back home once again? What was the first thing that really entered your mind when you signed the dotted line?
That this was a great family and football move for me personally. Like I said, after speaking with Danny and the confidence that he gave me, speaking with my mom, had a big part in my decision as well, and her wanting me to come back home and help support the family and whatnot. For me, it meant more than just football in a sense. But if you're also including the football aspect, I think for my career, they're a great team. I think Coach Thorpe's defense, I think he has a great defense. I've heard nothing but good things about Coach Mass. I've heard nothing about good things about Coach Irvin as well. So for me, it was hard to break out of what anybody. I think it's hard for anybody to break out of what they're comfortable in. And I was comfortable in BC, not saying I was starting to get comfortable, but I was comfortable. I had my apartment, I had my girlfriend, everything was there. I was paying for my apartment month to month. And for me to move everything, it was hard. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't have it any other way. Because like I said, having the opportunity, especially in free agency, there's no guarantees that next free agency I'll have an opportunity to play with Montreal, just depending on how the pieces move. So for me, it was more so I have the opportunity now. Yes, I love BC, and there's nothing but, good things. I have nothing but good things to say, especially when I left. It was very cordial. I think it was just time for me to take that step.
Okay. For Montreal, and we try to have some fun here when we finish up. We're getting to the end of our conversations with our players, whether it be guys who have been on the team a while, or whether it be like yourself and a free agent. You have any guilty pleasures for the city of Montreal, whether it be restaurants or whether it be nightlife or anything that really stood out? You're like, you know what? Now you have more time to do it.
There is a spot right next to my house. I will say, has the best acai berry bowls, and I'm on average maybe a week I'll probably order 3 or 4, give or take. I'm kind of addicted to them right now. I go through these phases of addiction. Other than that, I mean, the nightlife, I haven't really been out in quite some time. Not like I used to, definitely when I was younger. When I was younger, Coach Ron could tell you I was going out every week. It didn't matter game day or not, I'm going out. But no, now no guilty pleasures in terms of going out, just the occasional snack, the occasional sweet snack. But nothing. A little boring there.
No, not at all. Because we hear from many teams that come out west, and it's really not the case recently because BC really has had Montreal's number at home at Percival Molson recently, and other teams that come in that everybody talks about. I don't know if they call it the Montreal downtown curse or whatever, because the teams will come in and just saying, oh well, the nightlife will get you. You won't play well the next day or whenever you're supposed to be playing the game. So that's what I was curious to know, because I don't know what you were telling your other teammates when they were coming into Montreal for the very first time in BC. What they should and should not do when it comes to.
They know when guys travel. I mean, there is no, and I could attest. There's no animosity of, oh, are you going here? Are you going? Everybody's in the hotel. Nobody goes out the night before the game. That's not really. Maybe that used to be a thing in the 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s. But from what I've experienced, no, the guys have their own routines. They go out to dinner. Maybe they'll stay a little later, maybe at 9 there, but they're back at the hotels at a decent time, and they're just focused and ready to go. So I maybe, if this was the 80s, I would have to warn the guys of, going out in Montreal, because the nightlife in Montreal can get very, very enticing. But no, I haven't had to get to that point.
So if Coach Thorpe or Coach Moss are listening to this conversation, very good answer, Josh. The check's in the mail. Don't worry about it. No.
That's funny.
Well, not to mention too, your former defensive line coach in BC, John Bowman, knows Montreal obviously extremely well and has no doubt been able to share stories with you about what it was like back in the day. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, can't share too much, but yeah, I'm sure he's got some stories.
all right, Josh. Obviously, as we stated, the goal is, of course, to bring the Grey Cup back to Montreal in 2025. But you personally, are there any goals that you have going into this season that you'd like to attain?
My goal, kind of like you said it, I just want to win the cup. I mean, I've been in the league for 3 years now, and I've lost in 2 Western Conference finals, and I've lost in 1 semifinal, Western semifinal. So I've made playoffs pretty much everywhere, every year that I've played in the league, which obviously I'm very happy and very, blessed to be in that kind of position. But I think that I've tasted, the Grey Cup, like almost like it's like you're almost there. You're at the brink, but you just can't cross that next level. So I'm honestly just hungry to get a chip.
Well, listen, this is the team to do it. I mean, 2023 they won it, came this close in 2024. So no doubt in my mind, at least defensively, this team has themselves on the right track. Especially adding you to the equation as well is just going to make things even better as far as I'm concerned. I tell you what, Josh, I am excited for the 2025 season to see what you guys bring to the table as well. And also, I sincerely hope you got your mom a proper jersey. I'm sure you got her a BC jersey, but now you got to get her the Montreal jersey,
I
right?
just saw the BC jersey hanging downstairs, and I said, "Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do with that one." But yeah, I definitely got a long list of orders to make for my family. Definitely a long list.
Now that you got your number, I guess you have no excuse now, right?
No excuse at all. Yeah.
Awesome. Before we let you go, Josh, drop your socials. If people want to follow Joshua Archibald, where do they find you on social media?
Well, you said it right there. First name, last name. So Joshua Archibald is my tag on Instagram. And I don't really use Facebook, but I'm sure you could find me there, Joshua Archibald. I'm pretty old school with it, first and last name basis. That's pretty much it. That's all I got. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on the show, Cliff and Tim, and yeah.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you at camp for sure in St. Jerome, just in less than 2 months. So
less than 2 months. Ooh.
Oh my.
Yeah,
it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Joshua, thank you again so much for joining us here on the Alouettes Flight Deck. We appreciate you. Best of luck for this season. And as Tim said, we'll see you at camp.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good day, guys.
it's always fun to, I guess, as I mentioned before, hometown kid coming home. We've had some obviously do it before in the past, but this is one of the most recent ones too. But Josh just seems to be at ease in making his decision, obviously, happy with the decision that he made. And he's going to be, continuing his pro career at home on the same field that he played as a player at McGill University. And he's going to be doing it in an Alouettes uniform.
Talk about a full circle moment. I mean, as you said, Montreal kid, played his university here, and now he's going to be doing it as a professional in the same stadium, no doubt. Incredible. I mean, that's such a great story. We're definitely very excited. I have to admit, when they announced this signing in free agency, I thought, wow, okay, that is one of those under the radar moves. Like I think a lot of people maybe didn't quite know Joshua Archibald, aside from obviously, of course, the folks out in BC, and of course Montreal, people that saw him play when he was with the McGill University. But wow, this is a move that I think is going to pay major dividends almost immediately. And you look at the talent that he's going to be lining up besides guys like Isaac Berglund, Lowell Ugalak, Mustafa Johnson, Dylan Wynn. I mean, holy cow! I mean, that is practically a murderer's row when it comes to the defensive line. So very excited that Joshua gets to be a part of that, and we definitely appreciate him taking time out of his evening to sit and chat with us and get to introduce himself to you, the viewers and listeners of the Alouettes Flight Deck. So again, Joshua, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome back here anytime. We're very excited to see what you do when training camp opens in May.
Exactly, and as I mentioned before the interview at the end of that earlier segment, the big news right now for the CFL is the combine that is coming up this week in Saskatchewan. We've checked the list itself. Quebec schools are represented quite a bit. I think we have about a dozen guys who are going to be representing Quebec universities. What are you looking for when it comes to the combine itself, Cliff? And what are some of the things that I know you and I've talked about, and I think you've kind of teased slightly, but what are the kind of things that they could improve on leading up to and during the combine itself?
Well, I wish I could be a little bit more excited. I'm always excited when it comes to the combine, just because to me it's a glimpse into the future, and try to see if you can figure out where the Alouettes team is going as far as who they want, what kind of national talent they want to add to the roster. What unfortunately has put a little bit of cold water on the whole experience is the fact that this combine will not be streamed on TSN or CFL Plus or CFL.ca, or pretty much the only way you're going to see any of the action is, well, be a member of the media, which we are, but you got to get yourself to Regina to be a part of it. Like, there's no streaming, there's no way for anyone to be able to watch these guys showcase themselves. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, I've always said Canadian Football League at times, as great as it can be, they just don't get out of their own way, and it's frustrating because an event like this should definitely be getting a lot of hype. I mean, especially too, if you're a player coming in here, this is your job interview, right? Like, this is your opportunity to come and show all 9 CFL teams what you're capable of doing. And it would also be nice too if maybe friends, family members could watch you as well. Obviously not everybody's going to make the pilgrimage to Regina to watch someone basically do drills and get weighed and bench presses and all that stuff, all the stuff that goes on at the combine. It doesn't make for a good spectator sport per se, but at the same time, if you were streaming this stuff, then at least people could participate in that sense. And whoever isn't able to make it to Regina to watch the combine live as a member of the media, they'd at least get a chance to see what some of these potential names are doing. Because right now, the only thing you have to go on are some names, and that means you got to do your own research as far as finding out what these players are capable of doing. And then, they're going to no doubt publish the stats afterwards, and that's all well and good, but it doesn't give you that same feeling. It doesn't give you a chance to truly experience what they're going through at that moment. And to me, that's just so frustrating, because I want to be able to prognosticate. I want to be able to see, what these young potential superstars are capable of doing. But I mean, at this point, it's just going to be hearsay more than anything else. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, they're going to post some nice numbers, and you'll be able to look at those on a sheet of paper and like, okay, fine. This guy ran a 4.4, fantastic. I mean, but one-on-one drills, for example, I think it would be the biggest thing, that getting that matchup, seeing how this guy matches up against this guy, for example. I mean, you're not going to have that, and it's, again, you can't base everything on what you see at the combine. I mean, yes, you really got to watch the film. You really got to see everything they're doing, but this is a prime opportunity to get people excited. And again, we're in spring now, but the fact that we're still 2 months away from training camp opening, you want to start getting people excited, get people thinking about, oh yeah, CFL's coming back. Oh, there's some young potential talent that's going to be there. Maybe my team will draft these guys. Who knows? And we're not getting that this year. And it's frustrating to no end. I mean, there's just simply no other word to describe it other than frustrating. I mean, it feels like every other year it gets broadcast, or only certain things will get broadcast, or who the hell knows? I mean, it's just, there's absolutely no consistency. At least in the NFL, they do the combine, they broadcast it every single year on NFL Network. And yes, they do have a dedicated network for it. So of course they can get away with it. But the fact that they offer little to nothing when it comes to the Canadian Football League is an embarrassment, quite frankly. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are saying, okay, well, there's maybe only 20 people that are going to sit and actually watch the combine. Well, guess what? Why not cater to those 20 people then, if that's truly the case? But I can tell you right now, there's more than 20 people that would be very much interested in watching an actual stream of the combine. But I guess I picked the wrong time to not go to Regina, which I never thought I'd ever say in my life. But, oh well. I mean, it's just disappointing because I'm really curious to see which direction the Alouettes are going to go. And yes, eventually we'll get a chance to talk with members of the scouting organization and with Danny Machocha, hopefully, to maybe get a little bit of perspective on what prospects they find interesting. But again, maybe they don't say anything until the draft itself too, which again just makes things that much more difficult. So all this to say that, yeah, it's disappointing to say the least that they're not going to be streaming this. And I want to be excited. I really, really do want to be excited about the combine, but there's only so much excitement one can muster up when it comes down to essentially waiting for basically you're going to have to wait for the event to be over with and for them to post the stats. And then, okay. Yeah, you're basically just, like I said, just scanning through the website and seeing, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same though as watching actual, player action, watching guys lining up and doing drills and speed tests and this and that. So I mean, again, just another instance of the CFL just missing the mark as far as I'm concerned.
When was the last time? Did they do something? I remember them doing something last year, but it was unofficially done. Was it done unofficially last year that they did something online?
Last year was limited. They did show some stuff, but not nearly everything. But the year before that, they didn't show anything at all. It was another instance of, you have to be there kind of thing. Which, again, just that's the thing. It's just not consistent, and that's what irks me more than anything else. Is that either show it or don't show it or whatever. But I mean, at this point, really, truly, what's the harm of just taking some intern even and just giving them a camera, giving them an iPhone, whatever, and let them just follow people around and just record some of this stuff. I mean, you don't necessarily need commentators. You don't necessarily need just show the bloody thing. That's all you really have to do. I mean, it cannot be that difficult. I'm sure that people will even volunteer to go and do that for you. I mean, really, truly. I mean, how to me it just baffles me how the CFL just can't seem to get this part right, among others.
Makes me wonder if it'd be very interesting and nice to have it if this is a Saskatchewan Rough Riders stepped up and did something. If they do anything from from New Mosaic and stuff like that, or I don't know, maybe University of Regina did something. I don't know. I really don't know. But I kind of get it. I mean, as you said, at least we would know some stuff about these guys rather than just about the stats themselves, because the league really goes into this on the high of obviously of what Taylor Elgersma, from Wilfrid Laurier has done and what he did recently in the was it the University of Buffalo Pro Day, along with the other Canadians that were invited. Here it is 3 quarterbacks. One of them being, 2 of them being, one being hometown guy, obviously. But we have it's only 4 quarterbacks that were actually invited. But, the big name, in my opinion, I think would be Jonathan Senegal from UDM. But it's more than just him. In your opinion, let me ask you this. Just I got a real question with, is it a good thing or a bad thing that Elgersma is not there? Because do you think he would overshadow the other representatives, not just quarterbacks, the other players that were there?
He would. And again, this guy's already getting quite a bit of major attention down south. As in, if he were to show up at the CFL Combine, like it'd almost be laughable because nobody truly believes that anyone's going to waste a draft pick on him. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but I mean, if you're going based on what a lot of the prognosticators and draft specialists in the States are saying, there's no way Taylor Elgersma is going to play in the CFL next year. I mean, he's pretty much going to be on an NFL squad, whether it's being drafted, even if it's in the later rounds, or signing as an undrafted free agent. I'd be truly, truly floored to see him and Curtis Rourke in the CFL in 2025. I just don't see that happening at all. So yeah, if he were to show up at the combine, yeah, it would definitely take a lot away from from the other quarterbacks that actually do have a chance to potentially play in the Canadian Football League. And it's not to say that they're lesser than him. It's not about that. It's apples and oranges at that point. I mean, it's still a matter though of these other quarterbacks who are clearly not getting the same attention that Elgersma or Rourke are getting, but this is their chance to showcase what they can do. And to me, I think it's better that there are certain Canadians that will be that are draft eligible, but have focused on the American pro days, because there's a very, very good chance that they will be drafted or signed as undrafted free agents. And again, I think that speaks to the talent that's coming out of Canada, whether it's at the U Sport level or at the NCAA level. There's definitely a lot of talent out there. And again, with the draft and the combine, I mean, there's no shortage of Canadian talent. There's no doubt in my mind that these players, if they don't find jobs in the NFL, they will find jobs in the CFL. But the opportunity to not be able to watch any of these players do their thing is the most disappointing part. So, I mean, ultimately now, I guess, based on whatever happens on the combine, like I can take a look at the stats and then say, okay, let me go find this guy's film. Let me go find that guy's, which I'd be doing almost anyways. But at the same time, it would still be nice just to, hear a name, see what they do. And, oh, okay, that's going to spark my interest in trying to find more film. And is this guy going to be a good fit for the Alouettes, and so on. So that's a little bit of the frustration as well, is that, okay, I mean, some of the stuff I'd be doing anyways, but, like, maybe that's just it. Maybe they just don't want to do my homework for me, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll echo the same thing when it comes to whatever is going to be offered for the draft coming up in the next month plus. But I mean, it's that's a thing that's been happening. It's agreed. Let's hope that when a new commissioner is announced, that there is potentially some upgrades of some sort when it comes to coverage during the off season, because as much as Ambrosi was talking about the two different seasons between the regular season and the business season and during the off season, nothing is really done for the CFL during the off season other than free agency. And but adding a little bit more to the combine would do well. I mean, hell, if you can make a nice logo for the combine, what? Come on, show it somewhere, stream it, do something. I agree with you, Cliff. They need to look long and hard. If I'm not, stream it. You got YouTube. You got. You know what I mean? Come on.
You don't need to make a big slick production out of it. No one's asking for that. All they just want is, like I said, give someone an iPhone, for crying out loud. I mean, you can take some pretty good video out with an iPhone even, and just, like I said, set up shop. Film the 40-yard dash, film the bench press, film those one-on-one drills. And I think doing that, you're going to get people excited. Like, oh, okay, well, shoot, I hope this guy makes my team. I hope my, my general manager is looking at this guy and that guy and this guy and so on. Like, I mean, to me, that's the fun of the combine, is trying to get in the head of which general manager is interested in, what they're looking for. If they're trying to find out what their needs are, trying to figure out who do you think would be a good fit. And again, I go back to last December when we spoke with Danny Machocha at the locker room sale. We talked about a draft pick that I thought would have been a great fit for the Alouettes, and he explained to me why it wasn't going to be a great fit. That's great. I want more of that. I want to try to understand where, for example, Danny Machocha is coming from when it comes to building this Alouettes roster. I mean, I've got my thoughts. He's got his thoughts. I don't expect to be completely on the same page with him. And he even understood and appreciated even, I think, how we felt about it. And he was just being honest as far as his assessment on things. And I want more of that. I want more of, okay, what made you decide to go with this guy instead of that guy kind of thing? To me, that's interesting. To me, that's something I want to learn about in order to understand where this roster building comes from and how to make this a better organization on and off the field. So again, these are just, as far as I'm concerned, missed opportunities by the Canadian Football League to really engage their viewers, engage their fans, even engage their people within the organization as well, to get them excited about what the future holds for the Canadian Football League and for all 9 of their teams. So, like I said, it's disappointing, but it is what it is.
Yep, I agree. Don't forget, we are on social media. There are many places you can find us. You can find us over on X and over at Blue Sky, and that's at Alouettes FL Deck. You can find us on Facebook over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod. You can also follow us over at Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flight Deck, where you can find, quite a few shows from last year, the audio and video versions. You can also find our companion post-game show, Flight Deck Live, which will be returning coming up at camp. Stay tuned. Also, if you're looking to listen to the entire archive of all 9, 10 plus seasons of the Alouettes Flight Deck, head over to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca. If you're looking to pick up merch from us, which Cliff happened to show earlier, you can head over to flightdeckgear.ca, where we will be adding some new stuff, including our 10th season commemorative logo t-shirt. So stay tuned for that. And also, again, we want to thank Royal Retros for being our presenting sponsor, where if you head over to royalretros.com, use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order.
And don't forget, folks, if you do follow us on anywhere on social media, make sure you're liking, you're subscribing, you're following, however it is that you're consuming this podcast. Make sure you're along for the ride. Hit that notification so that you know when we go live, when we do release a new episode of the Alouettes Flight Deck, you are informed right away. Make sure you're a part of it. We want you to be a part of the flight crew. Make sure you're tuned in and ready to go with us.
Exactly. Even though it's a slight hiccup when it came to this scheduling over the next, we are still trying to do every 2 weeks, but we do also, it also kind of pains us that we're kind of technically 1 episode behind or a half an episode behind. So we're going to try to get something to you before the normal 2 weeks, 2 week break before the next one. We're going to try, but make sure you stay tuned to all of our socials, and we'll let you know when we're going to be broadcasting.
Absolutely. And again, the best way, as I said, hit that notification bell or however it is that you get notified, whether it's on X, YouTube, Instagram, so on. That way, there's no surprise. You don't have to worry about missing out. You'll be informed. You'll be ready to go. So
exactly. So we want to thank Josh Archibald for joining us this week in this episode of the podcast. And again, we will be back very, very soon. We do promise. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on final approach.